guess in pro wrestling, almost all wrestlers are considered to be giants in the ring, whether it be their physique or height. But some have been so large, many have had to strain their neck to look up at them, or in fact never be lifted off their feet. Sometimes it's difficult to determine how big these wrestlers actually were, as some promotions had exaggerated their weight and height. But in most cases, their size was obvious just by looking at them, as they truly were giants among the squared circle. Just to note, I'm gonna miss out obvious wrestlers like Kane, Undertaker and Big Show, as most will know they are still wrestling in the WWE today. Number 1. Kamala. Billed as the Ugandan giant, Kamala at one point was one of wrestling's most terrifying heels during the early 80s. The 380-pound plus giant, who always donned his familiar body paint of stars on his chest and a moon on his belly, has been victim to one of pro wrestling's saddest stories. In 2011, he had his left leg amputated below the knee due to complications of high blood pressure and diabetes. In 2012, he also had his right leg amputated and sought donations for financial recovery. He has also been very outspoken of how the WWE had treated him during his tenure, believing he received a considerably lower pay to other wrestlers at the time. He spoke about how The Undertaker was paid $500,000 for his appearance and match at SummerSlam 1992, whilst he was only paid a mere $13,000. He now relies on disability support, sells homemade wooden chairs, and recently published an autobiography. As of 2016, he has filed a class action lawsuit against the WWE where he alleged wrestlers had incurred brain injuries during their tenure and the company concealed the risks of injury. The case is still ongoing. Number 2. Andre the Giant. Andre was so big he was called the 8th wonder of the world and became a worldwide star. Even though Andre was billed at 7'4", it was exaggerated by the WWE, believing his true height to be around 7 foot. Unfortunately, Andre was diagnosed in his early 20s with acromegaly, which is an extension of his earlier known gigantism. Both conditions result from an excessive growth hormone. Reports are even that he was told that he would die at an early age, and suffer numerous medical problems. This seemed evident by the late 80s as Andre found it increasingly difficult to wrestle and ultimately retired in 1992. Andre died on the night of the 27th of January 1993 after attending his father's funeral. Andre the Giant would be the first and sole inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame of that year. Number 3. Mabel. Whether you want to call him Viscera, Big Daddy V or King Mabel, he was one of WWE's largest athletes to step in the ring, billed at 6 foot 9 inches and weighing 487 pounds. Entering the WWF as one half of Men on a Mission, Mabel got a huge push in 1995, turning heel, winning the King of the Ring tournament, and rose to main event status, headlining SummerSlam 1995. Things went quiet for Mabel until he joined the dark side in The Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness faction, and he was now known to be Viscera, where he then left the WWE to make appearances on the indie circuit and TNA. He then went back to the WWE as the world's largest love machine, a comedy gimmick making sexual gestures to most of the female talent. The gimmick was short-lived and Mabel made his final return as Big Daddy V, a monster heel gimmick in WWE's ECW. He was released from the WWE in August 2008 and made sporadic appearances on the indie scene and wrestled in Japan as Big Daddy Voodoo. In 2014, Mabel unfortunately passed away at the age of 43, suffering a heart attack. Before passing, Mabel had made a conscious effort to lose weight, dropping almost 100 pounds, but the drastic health change was too much too late. In 2015, his widow filed a wrongful death suit against the WWE. Much like Kamala, she claimed the WWE concealed information, misrepresented research, and misinformed him and other wrestlers on the performance risks relating to concussions and CTE. The lawsuit was dismissed as there was no evidence to show his death was linked to CTE. Number 4. Giant Baba. Giant Baba had a status in Japan that was similar to Hulk Hogan in the US. Throughout his career, he won many championships, including the illustrious NWA Heavyweight Championship on 3 occasions. He wrestled the likes of Buddy Rogers and Bruno Sammartino in the late 60s. But after falling out with tag partner Antonio Inoki, Baba started All Japan Pro Wrestling, which is regarded to be one of Japan's most successful promotions. As Baba got older, he helped younger stars get over, the likes of Junichiro Tenryu and Mitsuhara Misawa. Unfortunately, Giant Baba died shortly after his last match in 1999 of cancer. His legacy in the wrestling world and honesty as a promoter will be well remembered in the world of Japanese wrestling. Number 5. Abdullah the Butcher. The 300-pound plus Abdullah was a ruthless monster in the ring. His gimmick was of an evil Arabian sadist, having some of the bloodiest and most brutal matches in pro wrestling history. This was evident from the scars he used to carry on the top of his head, which ran so deep that according to Mick Foley, Abdullah was able to slot gambling chips into them. Most famously was his introduction to WCW when he arrived in a giant gift-wrapped box, which was a gift from Cactus Jack to Sting. This led to Abdullah and Cactus Jack teaming up and feuding with Sting, which culminated in the infamously terrible Chamber of Horrors match at Halloween Havoc 1991. Since then, he made a number of short appearances in different promotions and was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2011. He opened 2 restaurants in both the USA and Japan called Abdullah the Butcher's House of Ribs and Chinese Food, although his restaurant in Atlanta has reportedly been closed since July 2016. Abdullah since has been involved in much controversy surrounding his blade jobs, as he was suffering from hepatitis C and had infected other wrestlers without their knowledge. In fact, Abdullah was sued in 2011 for infecting Canadian wrestler Devon Nicholson, who contracted Hep C when Abdullah bladed him without consent. In June 2014, he was ordered to pay $2.3 million in damages. In February 2015, he announced he will be selling his WWE Hall of Fame ring, as he claims he has received no royalties from the WWE for using his footage. He sold it on eBay for a buy-it-now price of $19,999.99, but with free shipping. Number 6. King Kong Bundy. At 6'4" inches, weighing in at 450 pounds plus, the name King Kong was clearly apt to complement his size and girth. The name Bundy was also appropriate, taking it from the sadistic killer known as Ted Bundy. He made his mark in the WWF at the first WrestleMania by having the shortest match in WrestleMania history against Special Delivery Jones in 9 seconds, although it was actually 17 seconds. A record which wasn't actually broken until 2008 when Kane demolished Chavo Guerrero Jr. in a legit 8 seconds. He then main evented WrestleMania 2 with Hulk Hogan, but it seemed this push had come to an end. In fact, Vince was furious when Bundy appeared in a Dutch computer advert without his knowledge, demoting him straight down. Bundy felt that this was career suicide, as McMahon, at the time, didn't want any of his stars doing anything outside of his company. Bundy then left the WWF in 1988 to focus on his stand-up comedy act and acting, where he appeared in Married with Children, the Richard Pryor film Moving, and an episode of Weird Science as himself. He then had a short return in 1994 to 1995 as a member of Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Corporation, but again became a jobber to the stars and left again to wrestle on the indie circuit. Since 2006, he quietly retired, but in July 2016, he became part of a class action lawsuit against the WWE alleging long-term neurological injuries. Number 7. Ron Reese. With as many awful gimmicks as there has been in wrestling, Ron Reese holds the majority of them. Before he donned those gimmicks, he started his career on the independent circuit, trained by another big giant, Big John Studd. In 1995, he entered as arguably one of the most laughable gimmicks ever to be seen in pro wrestling as the Yeti, which we all thought would look like an abominable snowman as part of the Dungeon of Doom's secret weapon. Oddly enough, he was wrapped in bandages and resembled an Egyptian mummy instead. Funnily enough, he was not the first choice to play the Yeti, as it was supposed to be played by another giant, George Gonzalez, better known as Giant Gonzalez. As this wasn't going to be his permanent gimmick, it would explain why he looked like a mummy to conceal his identity. He was repackaged twice, one as the Super Giant Ninja, which was thankfully short-lived, and then simply named Reese as a member of Raven's flock. After the faction disbanded, Reese left WCW and wrestled in Japan and other indie federations before ultimately calling it quits. He now does occasional appearances at wrestling conventions and is now a district sales manager for a wine distributor in Atlanta. Number 8. Giant Gonzalez. He is the tallest wrestler ever to be in pro wrestling, and although billed at 8 feet, he was in actual fact 7 foot 7 inches. Although he never achieved massive success in both WWF and WCW, many fans remember him to this day, most famously for his feud with The Undertaker in 1993. As mentioned earlier, he was supposed to be the Yeti in WCW, but unfortunately health issues got in the way. After wrestling in Japan with his final match in 1995, Gonzalez returned to Argentina to seek medical treatment attributed from his gigantism. During the late stages of his life, his health steadily declined, where he suffered from diabetes, severe heart problems, and kidney problems, undergoing dialysis on a daily basis. Due to the fact he never made it as either a successful basketball player or wrestler, he experienced difficulty paying for medical bills. Luckily, the Argentina Basketball Federation held fundraisers to help him pay for the treatment and care. Unfortunately, on the 22nd of September 2010, Gonzalez was admitted to hospital but passed away the same day at the age of only 44. Number 9. Yokozuna. I'm sure most of you are familiar with WWE's largest athlete ever. Winning the championship in his first year and the Royal Rumble, Yokozuna was unstoppable and remained faithful to the WWF. But his size was concerning his fans and those around him. In 1996 he weighed well over 600 pounds, and it was clear that this was interfering with his ability to wrestle in the ring. Yokozuna made an attempt to lose weight, and even though he lost around 100 pounds, he still could not pass the required physical to wrestle in the WWF. In 1998, he departed the WWF and wrestled on the indie circuit and appearing at the infamous Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view in 1999. At this point, he was gigantic, weighing in an alleged 760 pounds, and admitted he was intentionally trying to get bigger, wanting to weigh between 800 to 900 pounds. On the 23rd of October 2000, he was staying at the Moat House Hotel in Liverpool, England, where he suffered a pulmonary edema and died at the age of only 34. His achievements in the WWE were not overlooked, as in 2012 he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by the Usos. Number 10. Mike Shaw. Shaw was better known in the wrestling world for his stint in WCW as Norman the Lunatic and the Bastion Booger in the WWF. Starting up in Stampede Wrestling as Mucken Singh, he was there until December 1989 when he joined WCW and feuded with Kevin Sullivan and even received a title shot against NWA champion Ric Flair. He then went to the WWF and wrestled as the ill-fated Friar Ferguson, a mad monk. The WWF received backlash from the Catholic Church of New York, so the character was dropped. With Shaw weighing over 400 pounds, he was then later renamed the Bastion Booger, with the gimmick of literally being an overweight slob, but this only lasted until 1994. Even though he retired from wrestling in 1994, his love for the sport continued, and he opened up a wrestling academy in Scandia, Michigan, and also worked in public relations and security for a casino. Booger made a one-off appearance in WWE in 2007, participating in Raw's 15th anniversary special. This, however, would be his last appearance, as he died on the 11th of September 2010 at the age of 53. Not much has been released on his death, but it was most likely attributed to his obesity, which greatly increased risks of a heart attack. Well guys, that about wraps up this video of 10 wrestling giants and where they are now. If I could get 500 likes, I'll make another video on 10 more wrestling giants that I've missed off this list. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Check out my other videos on the recommended tab on your right side, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.